Page 5. From another building where I had some business, it was important to be with him, to observe how he functioned for the next couple of hours. Philip seemed well enough 3 hours after his DMT shot for Robin to drive him home. We said goodbye in the hospital parking lot, and I told him to expect a call that night. When we spoke, Philip told me that Robin and he went to eat lunch after leaving the hospital. He immediately became more alert and focused on the ride home. He felt euphoric, and colors seemed brighter everywhere he looked. He sounded quite happy. Philip sent me a written report a few days later. Most important was his last comment. I expected to jump to a higher level, to lead the body and ego consciousness, the jump into cosmic space. But this did not happen. This threshold to which Philip referred is what we now call the psychedelic threshold for DMT. You cross it when there is a separation of consciousness from the body, and psychedelic effects completely replace the mind's normal contents. There is a sense of wonder or awe and a feeling of undeniable certainty in the reality of the experience. This clearly has not occurred with 1 kilogram intramuscular DMT. It was great to have Philip in the explorer's role. He was psychologically mature and stable and was familiar with the effects of psychedelics in general, and DMT in particular. He can make clear, understandable comparisons between different drugs and different ways of receiving them. His case was powerful validation of our decision to enroll only experienced psychedelic users. Philip's report left no doubt that IM-DMT effects lag behind those of smoked DMT. I consider giving higher dose. However, even if full peak effects develop, I doubted that this route would ever give the rush that is another hallmark of smoked DMT. During this rush, which usually happens in the first 15 to 30 seconds after smoking DMT, the shift from normal consciousness to overwhelming psychedelic reality takes place with the breathtaking speed. It is the nuclear cannon effect that users find so frighteningly attractive. We definitely needed a more rapid way of getting DMT into the system. Most recreational DMT users smoke it in a pipe, sprinkled on marijuana or non-psychoactive herb. This is not the ideal method of getting DMT into your body. The drug often catches fire, which is disconcerting when you are trying to inhale as much of the vapor as possible. The smell of burning DMT is intensely nauseating, like that of burning plastic. As the drug takes effect and the room seems to begin breaking up into crystalline shards, your body following suit, it becomes nearly impossible to know if you are inhaling or exhaling. In that state of intoxication, imagine trying to breathe into your lungs as much of this flame, foul-odored blob of chemical as possible. The fastest and most efficient way to administer DMT is by injection. Intramuscular injections depend on relatively limited blood flow through muscles to drain away the drug, and it is the slowest type of injection. Drugs also may be given into the skin or subcutaneously, where the slightly richer blood flow makes for a faster, though usually painful, method. Injection into a vein is the best method. From the intravenous or IV injection site, drug-rich blood returns to the heart. The heart pumps this blood through the lungs. From there, it re-enters the heart and then makes its way out of the rest of the body, including the brain. The time for this entire process, what physiologists call arm to tongue time, is usually about 16 seconds. I consulted with my colleague who had made the DMT, David Nichols, PhD at Purdue University in Indiana. He agreed that I needed to switch to the intravenous route. Reflecting upon our mutual anxiety about this change in plan, he added dryly, "I'm glad it's you and not me." It was time to consult with Dr. W., the physician at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, who, after helping guide the project through the 2-year regulatory process, was now overseeing its performance. When I asked his opinion, he laughed and said, "You are the only research scientist in the world giving DMT. You're the expert. You decide." He was right, but I was nervous about entering such an uncharted territory so quickly. After giving just one dose of DMT, there was only one previously published report that described the giving DMT intravenously, but this was to psychiatric patients, not normal volunteers. That 1950s project studied severely impaired patients with schizophrenia, most of whom were unable to report much about their experiences. In fact, one unfortunate woman's pulse was not detectable for a short while after she received IV DMT. It was in deference to the report that I was so cautious about heart function in all prospective volunteers. Dr. W recommended trying about 1/5 the IM dose, with switching to the IV route. That will probably give you a lower blood and brain levels of DMT than you produce by giving the intramuscular, and you should have some room to maneuver, he said. You probably won't overdose anyone this way. In our case, that meant converting the IM dose of 1 milligrams over kilograms to 0.2 milligrams over kilogram intravenously DMT. Philip and Niles had both eagerly volunteered for this new and uncharted phase of the research, finding a satisfactory dose of IV DMT in normal volunteers. Since both had smoked DMT previously, we would be able to compare directly the effects of IV to smoke drug, and in Philip's case, we would compare IV to IM routes. Niels was a 36-year-old when he began in our research. As a younger man, Niels had enlisted in the Army, desiring to specialize in explosives. However, he quickly saw that he was unfit for the armed services, and he applied for early discharge for psychological reasons. Philip happened to be the psychologist who performed this evaluation on Niels, and they have remained friends afterwards. Neil was keenly interested in mind altering drugs and always was looking for a neglected plant or animal product that might produce such effect. He had written several popular pamphlets, including one announcing his discovery of psychedelic properties of venom in the Sonoran Desert. So, the venom contains high levels of 5-methoxyl DMT, a compound closely related to DMT. When smoked, this product is quite impressive. Neil was a long and lanky fellow, charming and fun to be around. He had taken LSD many times, having lost track after the 150th dose. The first time he smoked DMT at Philip's house the year before, he was powerfully moved, he said.